Welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking at a woman who was literally declared a bastard at just 2 years old, locked in the Tower of London at 20, and yet somehow went on to rule a global superpower for nearly half a century. I mean, few rulers have ever managed to change the course of human events quite like Queen Elizabeth I. We're going to unpack the incredible true story of how she navigated immense trauma, impossible odds, and some seriously powerful enemies to lay the foundation for the modern world. So it really begs the question, right? How exactly did an illegitimate outcast become England's greatest monarch? We tend to think of royalty as this sort of golden ticket, a life of absolute privilege. But for Elizabeth, her path to the throne was a massive paradox, and her survival was definitely not guaranteed.
Throughout this explainer, we'll see how someone totally removed from power, a highly vulnerable target for her political rivals, managed to transform into an absolute titan. We're going to explore this incredible era of exploration, the massive cultural explosion, and the sheer political genius that really came to define the rise of the Virgin Queen.
Section 1. The Illegitimate Heir, Surviving a Traumatic Childhood.
Okay, so Elizabeth was born in 1533, but her world completely shattered just 2 years later. Her mother, Anne Boleyn, was executed, and get this, on the direct orders of her own father, King Henry VIII. In an instant, she's motherless, officially declared illegitimate, and completely stripped of all her royal rights. She was tossed right out of the line of succession, starting her life as a highly vulnerable kid with the entire system stacked violently against her.
So how do you survive a childhood where you are essentially a walking political target? Well, you make yourself indispensable. Elizabeth fought back with a really fierce dedication to learning. She didn't just study history, politics, and philosophy, she literally weaponized them. By her early teens, she was fluent in over half a dozen languages. She took that deep isolation of her youth and channeled it into becoming one of the smartest royals of her time. Her sharp mind became her absolute greatest asset, preparing her for a future nobody ever thought she'd actually have.
Section 2. Ascending a Divided Throne, a Push for Stability in 1558.
When her half-sister, Queen Mary, died, a 25-year-old Elizabeth inherited a kingdom that was deeply fractured and economically drained, completely torn apart by religious conflict. Now, a lesser leader might have sought revenge, right? Or taken a radical religious side to continue the bloody cycle of burning heretics. But instead, Elizabeth prioritized absolute stability. She chose a middle way. She worked impartially to strengthen the Church of England, focusing strictly on promoting peace and unifying her divided people. She totally understood that a kingdom fighting itself just couldn't survive what was coming.
Section 3. Defeating the Spanish Armada, the ultimate test of 1588.
Let's fast forward a bit. King Philip II of Spain launches his Armada, this massive, supposedly unbeatable fleet, with the sole purpose of invading and crushing England. But Elizabeth didn't cower, no way. In a legendary show of force, she famously rode out to her outgunned troops and declared, "I know I have the body of a weak, feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king." Against totally impossible odds, and aided by some brilliant naval tactics, plus a few devastating chaotic storms, the English forces completely shattered the invaders in a staggering upset that shocked the entire continent.
And the outcome here? It was an absolute seismic shift in global politics. Overnight, England was established as a major global naval power. This historic victory secured the nation's safety from foreign invasion and absolutely skyrocketed Queen Elizabeth's popularity across all of Europe. She went from an underestimated 25-year-old taking over a fractured island to the definitive architect of a spectacular military triumph that literally changed the balance of world power.
Section 4. The Golden Age, the Master Strategist.
But to fully understand her ultimate power move, we really have to pause and ask a question that constantly baffled everyone around her. Why did she never marry? You have to remember, in her era, marriage for a female monarch wasn't just expected. It was considered an absolute necessity for survival and for producing an heir. Yet she continually refused to conform to this deeply entrenched societal expectation.
The thing is, giving up marriage wasn't some romantic tragedy for her. It was a highly calculated, brilliant maneuver to avoid deadly political traps. Think about it. If she married a foreign prince, she risked severely weakening England's independence, making her country subservient to an outside power. But if she chose an English noble, well, she'd instantly trigger extreme jealousy and create an intense domestic civil war among rival families. It was a total lose-lose scenario, so she just chose not to play the game at all.
She essentially rebranded herself.
The Virgin Queen wasn't just a catchy nickname, it was a total masterclass in political optics. By remaining unmarried her entire life, she maintained absolute independence and secured domestic peace. No foreign king could claim her throne, and no domestic lord could assert dominance. She essentially married her country, proving that uncompromising independence was the real key to unlocking England's true potential.
And you know, this fierce independence directly fueled an explosion of culture and wealth during her golden age. I mean, you have William Shakespeare revolutionizing literature with plays we still perform globally today. You have legendary explorers like Sir Francis Drake, who, let's be honest, Elizabeth practically endorsed as a state-funded pirate, sailing the globe and returning with massive plunder. Then there's Sir Walter Raleigh, vastly expanding English influence. All this maritime activity led to highly profitable new trade routes. England wasn't just surviving anymore, it was wealthier, stronger, and more culturally vibrant than ever before.
Section 5. An Enduring Legacy. The End of the Tudor Dynasty.
44. That is the staggering number of years she ruled. Imagine that. 44 years of navigating assassination plots, surviving smallpox, dodging religious turmoil, and outsmarting global empires. And she did the whole shebang with absolute intelligence, unwavering determination, and immense political skill.
On March 24, 1603, Queen Elizabeth I passed away at the age of 69. And because she chose never to marry or have children, the Tudor dynasty officially ended with her very last breath. But her true legacy extended centuries beyond that date. She had successfully taken a divided, vulnerable island and forged the foundation of a modern global superpower, completely shaping Britain's powerful future.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider this. How much of the modern world was actually shaped by an outcast who refused to marry? From a motherless 2-year-old completely stripped of her titles to a fiercely intelligent strategist who stared down armadas and sparked a global renaissance, she remains a breathtaking study in mastering the art of power. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.